Hello, I'm Robert Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell so you get a notification of when we're releasing a new video. I'm sitting today with Willie Pelser. Hello, Willie.
Morning, Robin. You're well?
Yeah, Willie, I'm just a little bit confused. I don't know what day it is. All these public holidays. I had a very tough time in the gym this morning, so I'm a little bit all over the place, to be honest.
Robin, I think it's Workers' Day because we are at work.
Uh,
2nd of May. We've moved into May super fast.
Yes, we have. Yeah, I thought it was the 72nd of February, actually. But anyway, so Willie, we had inflation released last week, and I think year on year was 2.7%. But since then, we've seen the rand get stronger and the oil price get down to sort of $61 a barrel. Surely there must be big pressure for interest rates coming.
Yeah, Robin, I think just on the metrics you've mentioned, what is the 4-year low? The rand's stable. We're obviously not at 19 anymore. So it doesn't matter where it fits in. The combination is the petrol price should be coming down in massive cents per litre or rands per litre type of thing. So yeah, from an inflation perspective, if we just look at that number and the previous 2 months and so on, the average is, call it around about the 3% level, which is the lower band for the Reserve Bank. The Reserve Bank is starting to talk the story of a sort of a targeted 4.5% inflation target. So yeah, we're well below. And just on those metrics, yes, South Africa should get, now in May, end of May, they sit again, the MPC, we should get at least 25 basis points. Even given all the scenarios in the world of what's happening, we need it from an economic perspective. We've seen through the budget process, they were aiming for 1.7% GDP. The IMF is saying we're going to grow at 1%. I'm also penciling in a 1% for us in our calculations in here. And to get that back or higher, we need a boost from an interest rate level. So I hope there's a chance that they actually give us a boost and do a 50 basis points cut to make up for the previous times where I think they've missed.
Yes. Yeah, so. Okay. Well, that will make the car dealers very, very happy, Willie, which is a nice segue into another topic we want to talk about. You want to talk a little bit about disruptors. Tell us what's on your desk in that space.
Yeah, Robin, it's sometimes good to, from a global economic perspective, when you're in turmoils like this, to see, but what has changed, from a big picture perspective. And one that's very interesting for me is obviously we see in South Africa 6 out of 10 vehicles being sold at the moment are Chinese. So it made me just think back in history. And if I go back to the Chinese do these stated massive plans, sort of every 5 years type of thing, serious targets. You remember the massive urbanization moved to get people out of, out of the slums into urban areas, the Four Gorges Dam, all of those things are big picture stuff. So the car industry many years ago, they said, we want to be the biggest car manufacturer in the world. Now, if you read nowadays, there's lots of comment on China being the manufacturing floor of the world. They've achieved that. BYD, which stands for Build Your Dream.
Okay.
It's actually very interesting, yeah. But they built that dream. So that group of manufacturers in China are the biggest manufacturer in the world already. They've surpassed Tesla in motor vehicle sales. So their objective was obviously alternative energy as well. So the big drive was EV and other source of power generation within the vehicle. So what we see, and I've been watching it's an Australian guy, so it's not a Chinese, so a bit more objective. He went to the Shanghai Motor Show. He said he's never seen a motor show like this ever before. And the focus was obviously on what they've achieved. So it's quality, it's luxury, and then the concept of what I call hybrid. So there's an electric power source for some manufacturers on the 2 axles of vehicle and a combustion engine. So you still have your petrol or diesel type of engine, and the two work together nicely. So in South Africa, there's a brand just been launched now, or BYD has just launched a double cab bakkie on this technology. And it's interesting, everything I've watched and everything I've read, and I'm sort of a Ford man, although I assume it's a cost factor, but that bucky outshines on every metric relative to the Ford, even on price.
Sure.
So maybe there's something from that show that stood out for me. The guy took us through, on his video, he took us through a ultimate luxury vehicle. It's a massive SUV. This thing is bigger than my house almost. And he compared it to Rolls-Royce's ultimate luxury and so on and so on. So he just quoted a number saying the Rolls-Royce will cost you $1 million US to own it. And this vehicle, which when I looked at it, even my wife said, "Oh, look at the luxury," will cost $300,000.
Yep.
And just the way he described it, from nothing stands back from this brand to the Rolls-Royce. That's a huge difference. So yeah, those type of disruptors, even in our economy, if we think about it, CMH, which is probably the biggest car dealership owner in South Africa, with the showrooms and all of those things. If I look at stats that they've quoted of disrupting, Volvo had 79 dealerships in the country at some point in time. I think they're down to 6 or 9, which is, that's a disruptor from all aspects. If we look at car sales in itself, if you add up all the Mahindras that's been sold in South Africa, that's now equivalent to Nissan. Wow. If we start adding the Chinese brands, the BYDs, then the Chery, Jayco, you name it, Great Wall, GWM, Great Wall Motors, they're selling more than VW.
Sure.
Those are the disruptors. So what's the impact of the disrupting element? And for me, it's in South Africa specifically, is people are starting to vote with their wallets, and that's why they buy these, because that vehicle relative to German or American doesn't stand back on quality and durability and that type of thing. And people are voting saying, I'll rather pay half the price for the same. And we're seeing that in the consumer wallet.
Sure, that's interesting.
Yeah. So those are the disruptors that's coming through.
And those things we always look to try and piece back into companies and into your portfolio. Willie, thanks for giving us that insight. That's really useful. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.